It's kind of a very difficult decision. I don't want to be identified too strongly as the favorite of the group. I'm gonna go with my fellow countryman, Ryan the Man.
With the other people remaining, I'm not really too sure who to pick. I guess I'll go with Mike Chike.
It's a smart pick because I haven't been playing as much. I think this is good because I've watched a few Zora streams and I've typed something in the chat, like a suggestion, which turned out to be awful, and he might go with it and it screws up his game. So I'm going to try to maybe do that during our games and psych him out. I'll go with the Starry. I don't know if I have much history with him.
Okay, hello everyone. Exciting times here. We're about to kick off the Fire to Open Season 1 2021. And I'm here with my co-host Gordon, also known as G Warrack on BGA. And we're bringing to you an extremely exciting Group A, headlined by Zoras himself, who I think is going to be one of the definitely the front runner of this group, and it's something that we're really excited to cast and make sure that we're bringing you guys some of this awesome action here. So if we could just go ahead and dive right into these player profiles, let's get into it, Gordon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We're in for a real treat. These are 4 very good players. It should be fun to watch.
Okay, cool. So we've got Zoras here, and it looks like we've got some live video here from Bizzle, the man, and this is some next level production coming through. Hopefully, you guys can see Zoras here live in this Twitch stream. I think that there is a little bit of latency, but hopefully you guys can hear us loud and clear. Let us know in the chat. So Zoras here, and Gordon, are you still with me?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, perfect. I just have a little latency on my side, sorry about that. But yeah, Zoras here is essentially the godfather of modern Terra Mystica. He's one of the most popular players, the most popular streamers. Ever since I certainly joined the game. And Gordon, I think you would agree. He's got I think he's been in the top 3 of every single BGA arena season since the very beginning. And I think he might be the all-time best-ranked player on Snellman right now. So this guy is, the headliner of the group, and it's exciting stuff. I mean, Gordon, you're relatively new to the game. Tell me a little bit about how you might have learned from some of Zoras' streams.
I was just playing this game very recreationally until the fall, and the way I started learning a little more was I stumbled randomly onto tutorials from Zoras about how to play certain factions, and realizing perhaps I was doing some things quite wrong. And it let me look at the game in a new light. The content he's put out on YouTube is absolutely fantastic. And as I started watching some content from previous Fire 2 Opens, I got the pleasure of seeing Zoras work his way through those as well. Very, very strong player, as you say. Everyone I talk to always has a lot of respect for him.
Awesome stuff. So now we're going to move on to Ryan the Man. So Ryan is one of the newcomers, and Gordon, I'll let you kind of just go through how he got in here.
So half of the people in this tournament qualified based on the fact that they did very well in the last tournament. The other half had to go through a qualifying process where they had to basically win a game and then win a game against a group of winners. And Ryan's one of the guys that qualified through that process. Every single person who was able to qualify is already a good player. So to be able to make it through that, they're all going to be very strong players. So as much as we're talking about Zoras being the godfather, he's going to have heavy competition here, and Ryan's definitely one of them. And I've played with Ryan a couple times. I know he's very strong. He knows the game very well. He's definitely a student of the game. So it's going to be exciting to see what he does here.
Amazing stuff. One of the things I'll just quickly point out before we move on to the next candidate here is that we see Swarmlings here as another preferred faction. I think, honestly, God, Zorus is like, I know hopefully Logos is in the audience. I don't know what time it is in his time zone, but the two of those guys, like, they're Swarmlings, absolute masters. So it's interesting to see that here. Hopefully we get them in the game. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Another preferred faction of Swarmlings here from Mike.
Yeah, so Mike is 1/4 of that awesome 4-player commentary that Lumen Sperling puts out, and for those who are kind of just tuning in and maybe haven't heard of Lumen's streams, it's someone that you should definitely check out. He plays with Rainier, a gentleman named CS Junior, and Rainier has recently started streaming and is like an absolute he's just such a natural. I found his streams to be incredibly good. So definitely check out Lumen and Rainier's streams along with Zorus's as well. Just really big members of the community. And so Mike here, is the kind of the fourth quarter of that 4-player group. He's usually the quietest, but he's definitely a strong player in his own right. And it'll be really interesting to see if he can kind of pull his game up and compete with Zorus on this stage.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have any nerves. He played in the last Fire 2 Open, so it's not like that's new to him. And he's obviously done very well with the 3rd place finish at the Board Game Championships. So I don't think nerves will be a problem for him. It'll just be executing on his plan.
Exactly. I mean, he's just so used to playing on stream as well. I think he'll just go hard here. So finally here we've got Istari. So
The great unknown.
Gordon, the great unknown. I mean, obviously, you've never played with him, I imagine, Gordon?
No, I don't think many people have.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a 2-player guy. He has certainly not been a big player on the scene and doesn't really know. I don't think anyone in the community is like necessarily that close with him, but it's really exciting to see what he can bring to the table. I mean, he comes in with like quite a high rating, and regardless of the way that you play the game or the type of gameplay that you're playing, you have to do some pretty special stuff to get up that high. So it'd be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see if he can adjust to some of the mechanics in a 4-player game that aren't in a 2-player game, like the race for Earth 1 and Water 1 and the power actions. So we'll see. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm fired up. Got it. Yeah. So I mean, we've got the schedule up here. So obviously today's Group A. Myself and Gordon are actually playing next Wednesday, along with Zikov and Klebo. You've got a huge game on the 17th with Rainier headlining. Green Grange is an exceptionally strong player. I mean, everyone on here are strong players, but Rainier is probably playing the best in the world right now. I actually don't think it's particularly close. I think he's playing the best in the world by quite a bit of a margin right now, and it kind of shows across the board. And then of course in the Ice division, you've got Sprockets, who, and I earlier had said that Zorus is the godfather of Terra Mystica, but Sprockets may also be at that godfather level. Nerd Cube, who very much so has been one of the best players in the world, is continuing to be one of the best players in the world, but has hit that number 1 level, I think, along with Rainier. So he's headlining that group along with one of my good friends, Fatty B, and then Gino, Halai, and Bizzle in that final Ice division. I think that'll be the most fun game to watch of all of them. Bizzle and Gino have a long-standing feud, and Halai is just one of the most interesting and creative players kind of in the game today. Every single one of these matches should be watched if you're into competitive Terra Mystica at all, and they're all going to be strong.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see every one of them. It's going to be a blast watching it for sure. What a treat.
What a treat. You're right, Gordon. Okay, cool. Looks like the players are going to get the game started up here. Gordon, what do you want to see today?
Well, I think it's important to note that this isn't a situation where the winner is the only one that matters. So this could definitely come into play, especially when picking factions in terms of maybe leaning more towards safe factions or something like that. We're basically watching a quarterfinal match, and the winners automatically advance to the semifinals. But second place automatically gets a second chance in the fourth quarterfinal. You'll notice we're only showing 3 scheduled games here for each of the divisions. So if you're first or second, you're at least getting another chance. And then if you're third, you even have a chance to advance then. The best third place finish relative to the winner from the 3 games in your division also gets that second chance at another quarterfinal opportunity to qualify for the semifinals. So particularly as we get towards the late game, if there's one player who seems to be running away with it, you may start seeing players sabotaging each other or battling each other to try to secure that second place position. And that'll be very interesting to see as we get towards the end of the game.
I think that's fantastic to bring up and make sure that the viewers are, reminded of that, because it does change the dynamic of what you're going to try to do. So it looks like we've got our map here, which is extremely exciting stuff. And so I don't know if viewers can see that yet, but immediately we're going to jump into the track. I'm just going to wait till the viewers can see this map, and we'll dive in and just examine it.
Well, until we get to that point, I think when you're picking races without an auction, you usually just want to pick whatever race you think is going to perform the best. An auction flips that on its head a bit, in that it almost doesn't matter if a race does well or not. What you're looking for is a race that you think you can play better than the other players. So it's a very different approach you should take when bidding. I'll let you talk about the track now that we can see it.
Okay, yeah, wonderful. So we're going to dive in here, and I love this about Terra Mystica. I love the dynamic, setup. It's one of the things that makes the gameplay really beautiful. And let's take a look at this track. So we're going to read the track top to bottom, and that's the way that you should be reading it. That's the way that it makes the most sense to read it in terms of how you're actually going to score. But we take a look at, we got big buildings in round 6 and round 5. So those are repeating. Those are generally not strong scoring events, but there are really specific factions that take advantage of that end game, Stronghold Sanctuary scoring. We've got dwellings in round 4. We've got digging in round 3, trading post in round 2, and temple in round 1. So nothing too crazy. We've got a lot of coins on the track. And before we actually dive into looking at that track and those bonuses and the scoring, we also want to at the same time take a look at those pass tiles and see that, most importantly, 3 of the scoring tiles are in the game. So we're missing actually that Stronghold Sanctuary. So that means that players are going to be even more incentivized to delay that Stronghold Sanctuary till round 5 and 6, because they can't score on the pass with it. We're also missing 4 coins in a cult step and the spade. So looking kind of at this track as well, we've only got 1 cult spade, meaning that spades are going to be extremely tight in this game. And so when we look at this game, we expect a medium scoring game, because we do have, the first 4 rounds of the game going temple into trading post into digging into dwellings, which is actually a relatively decent way to score. People can, take advantage of that. And you've got 3 of the 4 pass tiles. And so I expect this to be a medium scoring game. I expect it to be a spade type game, which means that certain factions that can either generate their own spades or generate enough of a worker economy to hard dig at a really effective rate are going to be a little bit more, just a little bit in a little bit of a stronger position. And we do see that, the air cult has a repeating step as well. So we've got the spades from round 2 and round 5 workers, which means that there are certain factions that can take advantage of that a little bit more so than others can. Now, right off the bat, this to me is a pretty strong dwarves track. Most people might not necessarily see that right away, but dwarves can start with potentially 2 temples for Earth 2, Earth 1, get those coins off the start, get priest to air, take advantage of those spades, build a bunch of dwelling, dig, build a bunch of dwellings, and then build stronghold in round 5, cash in on maybe getting up to 8 on air, and just smash a bunch of jumps. Really cool track for dwarves. I really like it. It's a really good track for, a whole bunch of different factions. But Gordon, what immediately jumps to your mind as kind of a newer player to the game on what's a strong faction here?
That was an amazing dive into what you're looking for. The one thing I would point out that just further increases dwarves' value is, as much as you can get a lot of scoring early in this track, there isn't a ton of scoring late. After the dwellings, anytime you have repeating cult bonuses, your scoring goes way down. And when it's big buildings, I mean, if that were towns or trading posts, you just have way more score. So any faction that thrives on getting points from economy are going to be less strong here, whereas factions that have built-in scoring are going to be a lot stronger. So dwarves and halflings have that, whereas mermaids don't. But mermaid does like making both their big buildings late, so that can still work well. What we see at the moment is the Zorus is taking a while. By going 4th, you have the most power of creating the color dynamic that you're most comfortable with. So I'm sure he's very, very happy with that. If he wants, I'm guessing, since as we talked about him being one of the stronger players, he's going to want something that doesn't make it too imbalanced, would be my guess. So I don't think he's going to color sandwich anyone here. And so as we see, he didn't do that. So Nomads is a very, very safe pick here, even if the question I'm going to have here, and I'm curious to see what you think, because there isn't a lot of points to score off the track here with Nomads, they could get Earth 1 blocked, and they may struggle making points off just the pass tiles. What's your read on that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Nomads is actually my single favorite faction. I'm a huge proponent of Nomads. This setup for them is okay. It is definitely scary though. You're going to have to do some really kind of interesting things. The one thing that Nomads usually is okay with when they're missing Earth 1 is being able to smash, especially with the trading post bonus tile in here, smash kind of like a 32-point trading post round. It's just not possible here. I would much prefer Nomads with just maybe that digging and that trading post round just switched. Dwellings in round 2 into trading posts in round 3. Like even that is a little bit better for them. Nomads is going to have a hard time scoring here with that Earth 1, to be completely honest. You could potentially do some interesting stuff by getting Water 1 and then Air 1 extremely quickly, but it's not a great Nomads track. I do think kind of off the bat, what we should look at here is who do we like best in this matchup? This is a very, very classic color matchup: gray, blue, brown, and yellow. As I said, when I first looked at the track, it screamed dwarves to me. I thought dwarves were going to be like an extremely strong pick in here. One thing to really note as well is that halflings do get that air spade before the digging round. It would have been a lot nicer for them if they had those workers before the digging round. In this particular case, it's going to be hard to see them being able to really, really take advantage of that workaround. But it also depends on obviously like a bunch of leech and all that kind of stuff. But that digging round 3, if halflings can get themselves set up for a town in round 3 and take those 2 extra workers or the 2 key town or something of that nature, where you get that economic boost in that town in that digging round, those are some of the most like incredible round 3 dig halflings games. So that potentially is possible in this color matchup, where they can get like a huge amount of leech from that center square there, depending on where people start and all that kind of stuff. But what do you think is the strongest faction here? Like, what are the bids shaping up to for you?
Oh, I certainly agree with what the 2 factions they're bidding on right now. Both dwarves and mermaids in this setup have no color neighbor, which is always nice. You already mentioned why you really liked dwarves. Mermaids can fall, other than they're probably not opening double temple, but other than that, they can do a lot of the same things. And they certainly love their 2 buildings late. Going first is also really nice because they're going to get more leech than anyone else. And they're, of the people if it ends up going with three Earth 1 to the first three factions, they're actually going to still get a dig after Nomads take one. So I really like their positioning here. And blue loves having yellow in the game, so they could do quite well with that. So I personally would like mermaids a little more here than dwarves, although it's close because there's not a ton of scoring late. I'd probably be keeping them fairly close. Halflings, I would love a lot more if that digging round was in round 4. It's hard to score a ton of points in round 3, I find. You're certainly going to get some, but in round 4, you can really abuse it. But I don't know. I might still pick them over Nomads because as I mentioned before, the potential to be Earth 1 blocked is going to be pretty rough on Nomads. Now, that's not to say they're going to be. I mean, if +1 shipping falls to mermaids, they could open with a dwelling rush. We don't know that Nomad's going to get Earth 1 block, and that's part of the tricky part of an auction is trying to guess what other players are going to do.
No, of course, and to be honest with you, the more I look at this, like, Nomads should not get Earth 1 blocked. It's going to be almost impossible for them to get Earth 1 blocked in a good setup here, because remember when I first looked at the track here and I said this game is pretty spade tight, it would be, I think, extremely irresponsible of mermaids, halflings, or dwarves to pass on double dig if they could get it. I just, especially dwarves, but mermaids and halflings, I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I don't see it as being possible, which makes Nomads, just a little bit safer. And Nomads actually, it's interesting when you look at it here. One of the things you always have to look at when you're looking at that potential 30 faction pick is what bonus tile am I starting with, and how bad is my start going to be? And when I look at Nomads, they get their first pick here, and I think probably Priest is best, because Priest goes to Earth and is just very strong for Nomads there. Worker power is also extremely strong, and then Dwarves gets the other one of Priest or Worker power. I think they're very, very happy with both. And then it kind of gets interesting because halflings probably won't take temp ship, but they potentially could take the power for the double dig if they want, or just take 6 coins, and then mermaids gets to start with is almost certainly starting with one of those power actions. So I think I just don't really see a world where mermaids doesn't double dig. I mean, do you?
Again, if Istari's here, it's the question will be how much is he prioritizing stuff that we might in 4-player than not. I think you're right. I think there's a very good chance mermaid opens double dig. I think there's a very good chance that they value Earth 1 over those digs, knowing that if someone else grabs double dig, they're still possibly going to be able to come away with the dig. If they, in worst case scenario, they can grab the workers, and if they start on E4, they can hard dig F2, and they can still get out 2 more dwellings in round 1, even without one of the 2 dig actions. But I would bow to your expertise here. I'd be more drawn to Earth 1 based on the fear of the track, but honestly, with the dwelling pass scoring and the ship pass scoring both in, which are the ones they care about the most, they can probably make up a lot of points even without Earth 1.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if I was a mermaids here, I would go for a single dig action. And failing a single dig action, I actually think that there's, you know what? If I'm mermaids here, I'm probably getting temp shipping, because of the way that the bonus track is going to break down here, because Nomads will take Priest or Worker power, Dwarves take the other one, Halflings probably don't take temp shipping because it doesn't make sense for Brown this early. So mermaids get temp shipping. I would rush Earth 1 if I was mermaids, I think, and then would either take a single spade for 2 dwellings, or you could take a Priest and upgrade shipping and then spam 2 more dwellings. Like, there's a lot of good options for mermaids here, because they probably get one of double dig, single dig, or Priest, right? I just think it. I just think it makes sense. I mean, the thing is, though, everyone needs these spades. Maybe halflings can think of early dig upgrades and just skip the dig actions altogether. That can sometimes be extremely strong. But all in all, I don't know, because Nomads is okay if they get Earth 1 here, but they're a little bit in trouble without Earth One. There's a very narrow game plan for Nomads if they don't get Earth One, and it involves upgrading shipping super early with Water One and getting so many coins somehow, and making sure that they're just abusing that trading post and dwelling and shipping past tile. But even then, I don't know if they make up the innate scoring of dwarves in this particular setup, because building the stronghold and the sanctuary for nomads that late is just not really economically that strong. Whereas it is for mermaids get the point bonus from the stronghold upgrade. Dwarves get a really strong economic upgrade, as well as the fact that their sanctuary is almost always needed for a town, just based on how few digs there will be in this game. I think Nomads is my favorite faction, as I've said. I think many of the viewers and listeners know. I do think that Nomads are certainly the worst here. And
there we see someone finally jumping to halflings.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I do really love Nomads, and I certainly don't think they've got no play here. I just think that it's a little bit scary, a little bit maybe not super viable. Now the other question is we've got the map up here. Let's talk a little bit about starting positions in early Leech, because that will help us in our evaluation of the auction. And so when we look at the map here, let's start with dwarves, because E7 and F6 are almost mandatory on this base map. So E7 and F6 dwarves are starting, and I think because of the way that yellow and blue feed off one another, D3 and E4 are relatively mandatory as well for nomads and mermaids. And so we ask ourselves the questions now, where does mermaid second dwelling go? Halflings almost certainly starting E6, but can potentially start double east. I don't love double east. I think E6 is just such a powerful square. Nomads, though, is starting F3, so can halflings get E5 and D4 before anything else happens, or do they, how are they shipping? E6 is just a very, very strong square there, so it's hard to say. I don't know, Gordon. If you were halflings here, where are you starting?
I'm definitely. I'd be very, and we have our auction. I'd be very interested in E6, because you're getting a lot of leech, and it gives you access to the northern. You really like the north there as brown. You have a couple native hexes and single digs with the brown. So you have an easy town up there as well, even if nothing comes of your middle territory. I'd be leaning towards E6 F5 here. I think you can do a lot of good with those. So it looks like mermaids may be starting E4 with their D5 start.
Yeah, and I think
more
E4,
incentivizing being in the middle and getting it on that leech.
I think E4 D5 is totally fine for mermaids here. I think H4 is also interesting, just because you can mess with dwarves connection hex there through the south, as well as halflings connection. Although halflings are actually more likely connecting through the north, so there's some interesting decisions to be made for mermaids. I do think that Zorus won this auction, right? Let's really look at this. I personally thought dwarves were better than mermaids here, so I think honestly Astari and Zorus won the auction. I think that halflings is just clearly better than nomads here, and I think that dwarves is clearly better than mermaids. I will say that. And I don't know if the chat's going to freak out at me saying that dwarves are, I thought dwarves were just straight up better than mermaids. So would love to hear from the chat on this. I'm going to actually open it up here, right, so I can see if people are flaming me, because I was in a game in Fire 2 Open where I took dwarves and thought they were stronger than mermaids and got absolutely demolished here. And we see Zorus with these.
He did go double east.
He forsaken E6. This is interesting though, because what happens if dwarves just doesn't upgrade in the east at all? At all. That's very, very possible, right?
Well, it's possible, but there's a pretty easy town there. So unless his only goal is to make Zorus have a sad game, he's going to be making his town over there. Or you're just talking in round one.
Just talking about round 1, round 2. Okay. I mean, dwarves can play the middle game here, because look at this triangle here in the middle, right? look at this, like this blue, gray, yellow triangle here. Halflings is just out of it now, and I know they get compensation, right? The compensation for sure is that the compensation is that they have like this incredible access to these squares, and this almost guarantees to me that halfling is going to take double dig, because you get so much extra compensation for the extra squares or the extra hexes right off the bat. And he can kind of play this like dwelling rush type halflings going for this round 3 digging, if he wants to do it. It's also
now, that's if Mermaids lets him do it, because Mermaids are going to get first crack at double dig. So that may be Zoras's plan, but he may not be allowed to execute it. We'll have to see what, because it looks like there's a very good chance there's going to be a 3-power action that drops to Mike in first position here.
Yeah, and so it's actually interesting here. So I think Zoras is probably going to think a little bit here, because 6 coins is substantially more resources than 3 power. Like 3 power is a coin and a half. And so I think taking one of these shipping tiles from Zoras is probably a big mistake. I just don't see him doing it. And so I just think that Zoras will just allow, and I also think that if Zoras had taken 3 power or will take this 3 power, I think that Mermaids in this beautiful leech triangle starting in seat 1, double digging first is just awful. It's just bad. It's just straight up bad. Because you have the, like, part of being in that first seat, part of what he paid for is that tempo on leech, and not upgrading in that beautiful leech triangle in the middle. That's like one of the whole reasons that, D5 is a good starting spot for him there. I think it would be just truly terrible to double dig before a TP here and upgrade to get that leech. It's just so important for the game and his economic snowballing and all that kind of stuff. And actually, I mean, I think I'm watching the Twitch stream and I was lagging a little bit, so I see that Zoras did go for the 6 coins. So that is kind of what I was saying. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's always tricky because you're not going to be able to use those 6 coins in round 1. So your round 1 is usually going to be a little weaker than if you took one of the 3 powers. But even by round 2, you're going to be very happy you have them. Those initial 15 coins disappear very, very quickly. So I think it was probably a good choice by him. He knows he's going to get a whole bunch of workers through getting 2 dwellings with single digs twice there in the east. So that's not going to be a problem for him. And we do see Mike did not open with a double dig. Looks like everyone's just opening a trading post to try to get some leech to start.
Yeah, and this makes perfect sense. And Ryan does go ahead with the worker power in seat 4, which makes perfect sense to me as well. I think anything but a TP here is probably wrong. I really don't like him trying to like jump the queue for double dig or anything like that, because Earth 1 here is such good compensation that he should just go ahead and go for this. So there's this other like so this I hate. I really think this is bad for nomads here, because there's just allow yourself to get it on the allow yourself to get this double dig on the come around, right? I'm not 100% sure what he's doing here. This seems not great. I mean, obviously double digging around one is.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Gordon.
I agree, because worst case scenario, he ends up with Earth 1 if he didn't get the double dig. And that double dig he just took, neither of those hexes were under threat, which is when it would have been a much more interesting decision. No one's taking either of those hexes from him anytime soon. And there's a very good chance the 3 people in front of him just grabbed Earth 1 and he grabbed it next turn anyway, but got more leech out of it. So it's definitely changed the dynamic of this first round as a result. And we see Mike manage to grab the other dig action, knowing that he can still guarantee himself Earth 1. So that's a very nice result for Mermaids here.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what this kind of allows and opens up, right? I mean, I don't really like what's going on here. I think it's really hard for nomads to compete in these types of situations, I think. And so, it's a strong economic opening, and the question is, can he translate this strong economy into a really strong game plan? And you know what, he's certainly a strong enough player to do so. I just think that double dig was much too early in the round, especially with how good compensation is for Earth 1, especially because now, when he upgrades that teepee, he gets that leech triangle. He's part of that leech triangle. He gets that extra 4 leech. It's like, it's just so, it's just too early on the trigger here, I think, for that. And well, this is actually really interesting. I think one of the things that halflings might attempt to do now that they don't have any spades is they might take workers and go for double temple because they need the priest production to upgrade digging. I don't know if that's viable though, because maybe they just don't have enough worker production then. I don't know.
I don't know if I love double temple. They can still take the worker power action and get a dig and a dwelling up. Workers early on are just so important to them. With a single temple, they can have fully upgraded digs by the digging round in round 3. So I don't know how important that is. I will point out that with the line Ryan took with the nomads by taking the double dig, he actually only lost out on the 1 power from the mermaid's temple. He still got the power from engineers because he built next to them. So that's definitely nice for him. And we do see that everyone else did end up grabbing Earth 1 after that.
I was mistaken here. I mean, so Zorus does go ahead and pass. He passes for 3 power to get the to open next round with the double spade, which is very reasonable. He's going to be able to put down 4 dwellings next turn. And this is not what Zorus wanted. But this is part of what you pay for with this double east opening, right? Like he kind of decided that he was going to have a weak round 1 with this double east opening, and decided that the compensation he gets with this with these 2 like incredible double kind of, both his digs is 4 hexes now, right? That's the compensation he's going to get in round 2, and so we'll see how that works out. It's a little bit slow, especially with round 3 digging, but I mean, Zorus is just such a strong player. I mean, this has got to be viable, and perhaps taking the 2 workers and going for double temple here was just not viable.
Well,
Gordon, I'd be interested to
two with 4 dwellings and a temple, and he'll have enough priests to double upgrade going into round 3. That's going to be very viable for him going forward. He's not in trouble. It's, as you say, not the opening he was going for, but he's still doing just fine. As long as he needed 2 digs in the first 2 rounds, he is going to get those, just not quite as he was hoping to get them. I'd like to point, we haven't talked as much about dwarves. He managed to grab the priest, which we talked about being very, very strong. He's going to be able to get probably, I'm guessing, throw that in earth and just secure a ton of coins. It's basically a 5 coin priest, plus he's grabbing an extra 2 power from that. That's going to be huge for him. He's got to be happy that that's amazing compensation for not getting a dig, and he still has enough to compete for the dig next round, especially if he happens to grab a 3 power on the pass.
Yeah, I think I like Dwarf start here. Obviously, he's going to get locked out of digs in the way that this game was going. It's totally fine. Honestly, dwarves actually can pull off some double temple stuff pretty well, and this is something that he might want to consider here as well. I mean, honestly, dwarves can do double temple in a lot better way than other factions can, and I would consider, if I was Istari here, throwing priest to air, taking either Earth 2 or Air 2. Air 2 sounds a little bit crazy, but the reason Air 2 is so strong in this game is there's double air cults. He immediately gets the Air 2 compensation of the extra spade in round 2, and it's a spade tight game. And so getting a lot of this extra power is just really good. Honestly, if I'm dwarves here, I am taking a workers power action here, building a second temple for Air 2, or Earth 2. There's definitely options for both, but I think it might be an extremely strong play for him to do that, and I kind of hope to see it. I think it would be pretty cool. I really do think, I think it's awesome.
I hadn't even considered Air 2, but you're right. With dwarves, I almost default to Earth 2, but with that, as you say, a guaranteed spade, and putting himself at 5 or above in both Earth and Air means he has major cult play. So halflings are likely not throwing priests to the track anytime soon. They're going to be focused on digging. I'm guessing that mermaids priests are going to be focused on water because they're already at bump 2 there. So nomads are probably not going to feel very interested in fighting hard with them. So they're looking at long-term points there, as well as amazing early compensation, as you've talked about. So as much as he didn't get that digs early, he's got some very nice compensation, and has double dig ready to go next round without even taking a power pass tile here. Now we get to see, though, if he chooses that route, knowing Zoras is probably taking double dig, so it wouldn't be available to him, or goes with what you were suggesting with the second temple. And I really like that double temple opening, especially with it being at 4 extra victory points on the cult. It would probably be worth considering even without that.
I would love to know like some of the really great double temple openers. I'm really just thinking of NerdCube, to be honest. I wish I wish we could get him as a. I wish I could get him to call in here and give us a guest thought on this, because is it viable to not pick Earth 2, or is that just not enough worker production? Because Air 2 and Earth 2 both seem awesome. I kind of hope he goes down this path just to see how the game goes here. It would be really cool. While Astari is making that decision, let's take a quick look at this. I see Nomads chose Earth 2, and I think Earth 2 can pretty much only mean that, first of all, I think it's terrible. Sorry to be so blunt. I think it's probably terrible, but it probably means that he thinks that he can use this round 3 digging. I don't know for sure. I think also, production did throw up some awesome stats here. So we got Astari with an average place of 4 in his Dwarves game, which is really hilarious. So hopefully this double temple isn't the complete and utter disaster that maybe it could be. And then we've got Mike Chaik, a fantastic Mermaids player, Zoras, a fantastic Halflings player, and we got Ryan with kind of a much weaker Nomads player. And I don't know what the obviously I don't know the sample size of all of this, but okay, so production's in my ear saying that there's 200 plus games of sample size here. So these are pretty strong samples. So Astari is just historically an awful Dwarves player, and Ryan not the strong, not. Okay. The production's in my ear again saying that it's a smaller sample size for Astari. So, but yeah, I mean Ryan here with this these Nomad stats as well, definitely really interesting. I just think that what this really means here is that, and Gordon, I'll pass it off to you, but what this really means here is that Zoras and Mike just have a lot more familiarity with these factions than Astari and Ryan do.
Well, I think, in fairness, I think Zoras is probably pretty comfortable with any faction at this point. But very interesting. So he didn't go with the temple opening here. Starry ended up deciding to hard dig that red. It does open up C2. It opens up the using the hex names. I don't know if we've actually talked about that yet. There we go. We see C2. It opens up C2, and he's going to get a lot of leech out of that, and it certainly gives him a worker income. It would have been very interesting to see how the temple plan played out, but I guess we'll never know now. We see. Go ahead.
I can't believe that he hard dug this. This has to be game losing, I think.
I've try my absolute best to never hard dig round 1. It's almost never the correct decision. I guess he just really, I don't know. It feels like he could have made just waited for a power action the next round and made better use of those resources.
So there are a couple times where hard digging round 1 is okay. Actually, on this map with Mermaid starting worker power and digging a hex for 2, hard digging a hex for 2 can sometimes be correct, because Mermaids have this incredible expansion, and their kind of dwelling and their worker economy can be so strong. But Dwarves hard digging there, I mean, it literally just can't be correct. A tunnel might have been okay. I still don't think a tunnel is great. I just, when they get blocked from spades, you kind of are in this economic hole, right? And when you're in a game with with players that are at a certain level. I don't think that you can just, maybe actually this hard dig is the right decision when you're playing a much weaker player base or much weaker player set, and you can kind of just get along with, not destroying your economy, but just making a move that's like a little bit suboptimal. But I don't see this. I don't see it as being a reasonable path forward, to be honest with you.
But just to play devil's
I don't know.
advocate, the one thing I will say is that Hex was under threat from Nomads because it was a single dig for him as well. And it's basically a single dig that opened up a gray. So those things are definitely nice. It just felt like there perhaps were some more optimal moves. We see that Mermaids did open with their priest on the 3 spot on water, like we were talking about before. So they're taking control of that cult track and have already locked up an extra priest in the mid game. And we saw that the ever popular coins action got grabbed very very quickly.
Yeah, and so Nomad's taking the coins action, makes his economy substantially stronger. We get into this spot where what do you think Nomad's game plan is here, Gordon?
Well, I think Nomads has an interesting decision. They can certainly plop down 3 trading posts and score very well in this round. And Nomad trading posts are amazing because once you start, your third one starts giving you your third and fourth give you bonus coins. So that's really, really nice. The problem is that leaves you really worker deficient. So if they build 3 trading posts, they're going to have a single dwelling left and 1 worker left. So assuming nothing else happens, they're going into the next round with just three workers. That's viable. They're going to have really, really nice coin economy. But I actually, the choice he just made now, another hard dig. So he'd upgraded shipping and opened up 2 hexes with one dig here, and he's going to get the leech party continues between yellow and blue with that, which is really, really nice. And I think this is a nicer decision. I think a lot of people will get I think probably the trading post in round 2 misleads people more than almost any other cult bonus, because the cult track is telling you to build trading posts, but workers are the backbone of your economy early on in Terra Mystica. And if you build too many trading posts, every trading post you make, sure, it's giving you 2 extra coins, but it's taking away a worker, and that can just cripple you. So I actually really like Ryan's choice here. What are your thoughts on it?
So, Gordon, I do for the most part. I agree with almost everything you said here. Okay, so every single faction, round 2 trading posts can sometimes be a huge trap. Worker economy is the backbone of your economy, and it's so important to get a strong worker economy going. And on the face of it, Nomads here are going to be able to build 2 more dwellings. Right, they're going to get down Temple 7 dwelling start after 2 rounds, which is extremely strong. They're going to get their 7 pass points from that dwelling passing tile. The only problem with this game plan is that he took Earth 2, which is just wrong. Just like how much better would he feel, or how much better would we all feel about his game plan if he had that Fire 1, right? He's going to be producing 8 workers a turn starting this round, and yet he wants another worker instead of 3 coins, making it just extremely inefficient. I mean, Fire 1 here is just so substantially better. But the other problem is Nomads have no inherent scoring, and so honestly, I'm rooting for this to happen. But the way that this is setting up is he's not going to have the point ceiling he needs to win this game unless he scores 4 towns and win. I mean, he's going to win network. It'd be almost impossible for him to lose network at this point in the game. Like, everyone here is a strong player. I think everyone here is an expert player. He's going to win network. That's Nomad's inherent advantage. They start with 3 dwellings. He's got lots of leech. He got the coins power action. He's going to get down every single one of his dwellings this round, like every single one that creates income. He's going to win network. I think he needs 4 towns here and to hit these pass tiles extremely hard. He's already got the shipping. He's already got the dwellings out. I think his game plan is okay. I mean, honestly, I feel very good about like a more cohesive game plan if he just had Fire 1 here. Damn, I mean, honestly. How do we feel? Like, let's go back here to halflings. This double east halfling still has gotten not a single point of leech, not a single one. from anyone. No, that's not true. He got one leech, I think, when dwarves jumped over there. How are we feeling about this double leech game plan now that round 2 has coalesced?
So no, he hasn't got a lot of leech, but that leech is coming, which is going to be very nice. It's going to be a question of, is it too late? He's going to have I assume anyway, there's a very good chance he's going to fully upgrade dig going into round 3, and he's going to carve out the rest of his 2 towns there, which is great. But anytime you get leech starved basically completely through the first 2 rounds, you're going to be struggling. Now, a temple and 5 dwellings is not terrible, and he's also passed right behind Astari, so he's going to he got actually, I don't even think that matters, but he doesn't have power to take a power action he's interested in. Yeah, he's in trouble, no question. If Astari continues to leech starve him in the east, he's going to really struggle. If Astari starts building aggressively next round, which is certainly possible, he can recover, but he's definitely in trouble at this point.
That's interesting that you say he's in trouble. I definitely think that let's take stock. Okay, we're about to wrap up round 2 here, and let's start with nomads. So nomads, their Earth 2 is probably just wrong. I think even if we had direct contact with Ryan right now, I think he would probably admit that it's wrong. I mean, he's altering from his game plan. Instead of building that extra dwelling, he just built a trading post. The problem with building that trading post is that he built the trading post for 3 points and he loses 1 point on the dwelling pass. It hurts his worker economy. So again, I think that's just a mistake. If we go to mermaids is cruising, right? Mermaids is cruising. They have Earth 1. They've got good expansion. They've got 4 dwellings, a TP, and a temple out. We do think Water 1's going to be important to score this game because there's not really any scoring in rounds 5 and 6. Obviously, those big buildings are okay for scoring, but I think you're going to want Water 1 to supplement that. We've got dwarves here with that weird hard dig. They actually have, a decent amount of stuff going on. Everyone's got. I think they're okay because of their. Literally, I think they're okay almost specifically because of their cult presence and how good air and earth were for them, and how good air is going to be for them when they build this stronghold in round 5 and just spam dwellings. I think that they still have a game. I do think that dwarves won the auction pretty substantially. I don't know if Chad is again mocking me out here in the chat streets, telling me that I'm dumb, but I think they won the auction pretty substantially here. And I think that shows like they still have a game even after that like really bizarre round 1 hard dig. And then halflings here, I think like when we look at it, they're going to be advancing dig here. They don't have quite as much. They just don't have quite as much worker economy as they need. Remember remember Gordon when we were chatting at the very beginning of this game, and I said that if halflings could get a round 3 town and get that economic boost, they'd be in a great spot. It looks like he's going to be just short of that, eh?
I don't think he can advance dig and form a town. I think that's going to be tricky, although I haven't calculated it. If he can, I agree that that's huge. And when I was talking about halflings being in trouble, I'd also forgotten that they did get to start with 30 compared to we were comparing them to dwarves and mermaids. They do have a sizable point lead here. So as much as the game plan for mermaids especially is going, I think, right according to plan, there's also a sizable point gap to make up there. So even if on the board they may not look as strong, I mean, 18 points is nothing to scoff at for sure.
Yeah. Yep. No, you're right. 18 points is 2 towns. And that's the way that I usually think about it. Like, how many towns am I behind this person? I don't know if other stronger players.
I've never thought about it that way. I like that.
Yeah. Usually I just assume that towns are around 9 or 10 points and just say, how many towns am I behind this person? Astari taking that middle there is going to slow down mermaids. It doesn't necessarily hurt them so much. It makes them have to advance shipping and maybe a little bit more than they were potentially planning to. Not that upgrading shipping is bad in this game. Like, upgrading shipping quite a bit is really strong in this game. And now now because dwarves take that center town. If we can just get production, if you could just throw up that the hexes again for us for just a second, I would love to chat about a strategic element here that's kind of opened up in a little bit of a way. So I think what's going to end up happening is G3 is now under threat from mermaids as soon as they get to shipping 3, right? They're shipping 1, they're about to be at shipping 2. You know, mermaids is going to have a strong worker economy, is going to be able to get through to there. I think honestly, looking at this board, and I don't mean to backtrack, I hated that round 1 by dwarves. Like I cannot stress to you how much I thought it was terrible. I'm beginning to think he won the auction by even more than I had originally thought. Like I said that I thought Istari and Zoros had won the auction by a considerable amount. I think that I had thought at the time that, you know, dwarves were a little bit better than mermaids, and I think mermaids paid maybe 5 more than dwarves. Now I'm thinking that dwarves were maybe like a lot better than mermaids, because despite that, like the first round going like almost as poorly as it possibly could for him, it still looks pretty good. Like Gordon, are you seeing something that I'm not seeing here?
I agree. He's in a very good position. If he loses G3 to mermaids, I think things change quite dramatically, because that's his connection, and his connection becomes very difficult if he misses that. The fact that mermaids beat him to C4 means he can't really easily connect through the north anymore, so he has to come through the south. He certainly. I don't think he's going to let that happen. He can basically take that with a dig whenever and a jump whenever he wants. So I don't think that'll be a problem. But I don't see any other major danger to him. His 2 towns are basically carved out without anyone being that interested.
Yeah, Gordon. Sorry, I just before you finish that thought, like the more I'm looking at this style, like the problem is that does Zoros just double dig D7 and just build it right now? I mean, if I was halfling, that's what I would do. If I was,
I hadn't even seen that.
He can't finish a town. I think you just double dig and build D7 right now, and then dwarves. What do you do?
So
I mean, I guess.
So you're basically Zoros's other option is to build G7, which is saving 1 worker, but it also makes, presumably after he finishes those 2 towns, he's upgrading shipping to go somewhere else anyway at some point. So it makes his connection pretty easy. He doesn't have to worry about going through G6 and or H8. And you're really killing dwarves' game. I actually like that a lot. Now dwarves.
I think dwarves should probably just hard dig this, right? They have just enough to do it.
That's what
he does. Done. He goes ahead.
He heard you.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very smart move by him. You don't want to leave that hanging for Zoras.
I think it's one of these things that when you're in the game and you're playing just your one faction, you like he probably saw that. Zoras probably saw that. I think like we were just a little late to the punch just because we're looking at all 4 factions here, right, and all 4 players. But yeah, I mean now that we took that little detour into Panic World, I do once again think that dwarves are just in a fantastic spot here. I think they again won the bid considerably, given that I really think that round 1 was a mistake. I would love to actually hear what other people think about that. I do think they're probably still going to lose that G3 square to mermaids. I think, and we'll see how it goes. But all in all, they're in a decent spot. We'll see what Zoras can do with these halflings. The thing is, Zoras is just trapped straight up in the east now, so it's like he's not really competing too hard on connection unless he can like really jumpstart the economy. And that round 1, that really slow round 1 is kind of, you know, coming back to bite him a little bit more than maybe I had thought. And I'm interested to see what Nomad's plan is to score this game, right? I mean, he started at 30. He got that dwelling pass bonus for, I'm not sure what it was, but you know, a decent amount, built a temple. He's gonna need to find a way to score here. More than anything, and again here, I wish that Zoras had found a game plan here that got him a town here. because if he had found a game plan that had got him to town in round 3, I mean, it's a whole different game, right? You just get those extra, like your worker town is just a 13-point town, right? Just tough.
So
It's
if we,
tough.
I'm just going to switch gears for one sec. If we look at mermaids, they're the first ones that have picked up Water 1. Do you see the others noticing that and starting to prioritize next round? Do you think there's going to be a Water 1 rush at the start of round 4 to get the last 2?
Yep, I do think that. I was just watching Ryan pass here. I think Mike really needed either that coins pass tile or the coins power action, or like not like desperately, but he pretty badly wanted it. And so to see Nomads jump on that and just completely monopolize the coins is an interesting way for Nomads to play it. I definitely thought that for Mike here, the interesting thing that I think that's a little bit weird is that he had the ship pass style, and yet he spent his coins on Water 1 here. And he's going to get this extra priest production that I'm not entirely sure that he gets rewarded for. Right, something that I think is really important to share with the viewers. I know we have mostly an expert. We have mostly this like expert crowd that's watching, and so I don't think there's that many new players in the audience, but there maybe there is. I think there's like 50 people watching here, but for the newer players, this double temple in round 3 by Mike, it's a little bit interesting because when you go this path, right, you're dedicating like a huge amount of resources to this temple early, which means that your economy stops snowballing a little bit. And when it stops snowballing a little bit, you need different ways to recover from that. And one of the ways that you can recover from that is take that extra priest production and gain a lot of extra cult rewards for it, right? You get the extra cult power, you get the extra cult rewards, but all the 3 steps are gone. You can't really compete on air or earth. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to compete on fire. And he's not going to get any extra coins from this extra priest production. And so I just don't see this as a cohesive game plan from Mike going for this early Water 1. I think Water 1's extremely important in this game. I just think that why are you building the temple in this round when you can pass, take a coins power action, then build the temple, or upgrade shipping? Like it's a little bit worrisome. I think there's a lot of problems with a lot of these players' games right now. Obviously, everyone here is such a strong player. There's little things that they're doing that are causing these little problems. I think the only person maybe that I haven't seen something I hated from so far is Zorus. Except for do we love the double E start enough? Like he really paid a lot to get that early expansion, right? What do you think, Gordon?
I've always enjoyed having a center start. One of my guys around E6 as halflings, because it opens up a lot more doors and you get a lot more leech. I mean, he's making it work. As you say, I don't see him making any mistakes from that point. And he certainly got unlucky that, I shouldn't even say he got unlucky that dwarves upgraded mid, because there's a leech triangle. That's where he should have upgraded. But it'll be interesting to see how he closes it out and how he continues to get points other than making his towns from this point forward. Maybe he can find a way to carve out a 3rd town down in the southwest where he is right now. Going back to what you mentioned, though, about the 2 temples for mermaids, it's even more perplexing when you notice that at the end of this round, round 4, he's getting 2 more priests from the cults. That's a lot of priests. He can't even send the 2 priests he has right now to the cults because he doesn't have enough left in his supply. At least one of those is going to have to be used for shipping. So I agree. I would have loved. The only reason to do that is if he thought Water 1 was that important to him and he needed to rush for it. But it feels like he could have just worked on economy a little more in round 3 and then done the upgrade, just prioritize passing within the first 3 moves going into this round and built it now and got better economy coming into it instead.
So just as you were going and talking about this Water 1 stuff, I mean, Ryan skipped coins for Water 1 here. I think this is I just don't understand this at all. I mean, he still has tempo over dwarves for the most part for Water 1. Dwarves aren't going to build a sanctuary for Water 1 here. I just don't understand it. I
Yeah,
think like one of the whole reasons taking that, because he could have passed on to the dwelling past tile, right? Instead he passed on to 6 coins. And I thought he was trying to monopolize the coins in the game, and I thought that kind of made some sense, right? So that his economy is just so strong. I mean, I'm honestly just shocked at this play. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. I think this is just such a massive gift for dwarves, and I was just beginning to kind of think that maybe halfling's spot was better than dwarves, and now it's just I think dwarves are just gifted. The question now is that it kind of looks like Mike's water 1 there was just so economy crippling that I just think it was bad overall. Dwarves is going to get to go ahead and take coins. So the ripple effects of this is really important. It's actually really interesting. It's super interesting. Okay, so dwarves get coins, but what it's going to mean is that they're gonna lose water 1 probably, unless they're willing to build a sanctuary for it, which I think is wrong. Which is fine. Although maybe, is it wrong? I don't know. It's going to prevent halflings from getting it. What do you think?
So I've noticed that dwarves have not, usually as dwarves, you try to keep a trading post up throughout the game because it actually gives you 50% more coins than every other faction, which Astaria hasn't been doing. And he kind of got away with that by getting an unexpected power action there. But by not having that trading post up, water 1 in a way means more to him this game than in other games because he has more trading posts still to build. So if it comes back around him and he manages to and he considers building the sanctuary, he loses 5 points from not building it in one of the last 2 rounds, but he's making a lot more from that by getting water 1 and by denying one of your opponents it as well, which can't be discounted, especially when you consider the fact that it's not only about the winner as we move towards the end of this game. And I imagine that's why he's stuck here. That's probably exactly what he's thinking about.
Yeah, Ryan? I think Gordon, I think I would take water 1 here. I wanted to say it before he makes a decision, just so chat can either crucify me for the water 1 take, or I don't know, Rainier and NerdCube probably in the chat. I was looking at the chat before, but I find it very hard to like concentrate on the game and read the chat at the same time. So I would love to go back after. I do think I would go Sanctuary for water 1 here. I do think that I would do it if I was dwarves, because it denies it to halflings as well. I don't know. I would love to hear some thoughts.
Well, halflings is almost definitely taking water 1 now that he hasn't taken it. But it's it's a question of the other thing you have to keep in mind, as much as water 1 is almost definitely going to give you more points than saving the sanctuary for the next round. You also have to keep in mind building a sanctuary now is going to cripple your economy going into the last 2 rounds compared to if you just expanded without taking water 1 now. So you have to balance the fact that you're going to be able to do less stuff with your economy going into that last round. But without water 1, the extra economy you have to do stuff in rounds 5 and 6 aren't going to score as much. So I would have really liked a water 1 there, but as it turns out, he's going to have another chance.
It looks like Zoras just said just gave it a wait. I think there's a couple interesting like educational pieces here on dwarves gameplay and on halflings gameplay. So specifically, like when you had said that dwarves players generally keep a trading post around, I actually find that to be incorrect, and I wanted to call that out because I think there's a lot of strong players that may disagree with me around that, and I would love to start a conversation around it. But dwarves get that extra the 3 coins trading post for dwarves is fantastic, and there are certain game plans that certainly warrant it. I think that the issue is that worker economy for dwarves is so unbelievably important that while most factions would take a 3 coins for 1 worker trade, I actually don't think it's good for dwarves. And I'm really interested to again see the chat on this one and see what people think. But I think Astoria was actually playing that properly and not keeping that trading post up, especially because of the challenges that he had earlier on with the his slower start. We do see Zoras take water 1 here, or I imagine it's going to be water 1. He builds a temple. I would really like to see. I would really like to see, or like understand a little bit more about, kind of why dwarves thought it was okay to pass on that when they were given the chance to sanctuary for water wine.
Well,
Um,
Water One would have probably given them about 12 extra victory points if they built their 4 trading posts. By building another couple dwellings this round, they have the dwelling pass tile and it's the cult tile for building dwellings, and they get to build their sanctuary for 5 more points next round, and they're getting better economy for that. They can, when I was talking about turning that economy into points, by building up their dwelling and therefore worker economy, they're going to be able to do perhaps a few more jumps next round, which are big points for dwarves. So the question is, if they're competing for first, is it reasonable to take into account the fact that denying Zoras Water 2 might be, how much does that factor into the equation at that point?
Mm-hmm. No, fair enough. Honestly, I don't mind it. One of the things I didn't quite notice that I'm just noticing now is that Air 1 does give him an extra worker as well, right? And he doesn't have the economy to go Water 1 into Air 1 ever, but he certainly has the economy to go Air 1 with the Sanctuary in the next round. I don't know why he jumped there. I would have just placed my dwelling and done the jump later. Especially because there are certain lines that he may take where he builds the stronghold and then just saves a worker on the jump. So I really don't like that jump. I think that's just a tactical error because it's halflings doesn't have a shipping yet either. So it's not like that hex is under threat and he can make that jump at any time. And so I really would have liked to see him just put that extra worker down. And then when he's building Sanctuary or Stronghold, the way that dwarves kind of next 2 turns are going to play out, he's going to want to score his towns faster to get those workers or those priest towns. And so it's just where he needs to place that. I think he needs to put it in the middle there. I guess it's F4 before he makes that jump. What do you think, Gordon?
I just want to point out before we get to that, dwarves did dodge a bit of a bullet. A couple turns ago, mermaids were actually sitting with enough power to take the single dig power action and steal G3 from him, which is his connection point, and would have made connection a lot easier for mermaids. I was wondering how much consideration mermaids would put into really hurting the dwarves network game while making their connection a lot easier. Now, if mermaids is planning to get to 5 ship and take or even 4 ship with H5, not as big a deal, but it was a risk that dwarves put out there.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think dwarves have to probably hard dig jump maybe on their first move to ensure that connection here, because they can't connect through the north. There's no way for them to connect through the north. Maybe Zoras is waiting on this town for. There's a couple of reasons why he could be waiting on this town, but maybe he's about to take a ship town. No, that doesn't make any sense, really. I think part of Zoras' power in this game, aside from just having a point, like a victory point lead right now, is being able to, with his digs, like disrupt a lot of what's going on, right? Like Zoras can just get 1 ship and come over and just like muck a bunch of what dwarves are trying to do, and dwarves only have 1 dwelling to build, right? So there's some really interesting implications here. It looks like the story might be just on time, though.
Zoras does have the ability. I don't think it's worth it for him, but he had the ability right there to upgrade ship and just dig G3 if that was really important to him. But I think just building another dwelling is definitely a better move. Now, what pastile is Zoras going to grab here? Is he taking the coins?
I think just the 6 coins. I think he's generating no coins. He's got no. I don't see any reason for it to not be the 6 coin pastile. I think it's just the best by just a huge margin. Yeah. So we got nomads here. I still don't see how nomads is going to score. Like it's round 5 and they haven't put any TPs on the board, so 4 talents is obviously out of the question. I kind of was hoping that Zorus almost needed a little bit of shipping early enough to like secure a third town, because he's not going to get a third town now. I just don't know if his point ceiling is high enough. Dwarves still have 2 towns coming in. Zorus already scored one of his. Dwarves are probably winning 2 cults. I actually think this is a situation where Dwarves should probably take 2 key town if they can. I know a lot of people hate it, especially this late in the game, but it's going to come with 6 power after he gets air 1. It's going to come with probably a lot of extra points on water and fire, and it's going to let him come. It's going to come with an extra worker on air, and it's going to come with locking out air and earth, so that while it's unlikely that someone chases him after him for that, like he can just stop worrying about it and then keep his priest for workers, which I think is really important. So I think this is again where I kind of wish he had just built in the middle, so he could build out his town a little bit faster. But yeah, I do think that that Dwarves taking 2 key town here is really strong. What do you think, Gordon? Do you think that's too? Do you think that that's like not strong enough of a town here this late? I'm not exactly sure. And here comes the start for Zorus just messing with Dwarves here.
Yeah. So I think Dwarves is probably identifying. Sorry, I think Zorus is probably identifying that Dwarves are his closest competition at this point. So I think it's entirely reasonable to start messing with their connections. I think that's a very savvy move on his part.
Yep.
In terms of the 2 key town, I think there's I usually don't like taking 2 key towns late, but there are a lot of arguments for it. Not only is he locking up earth and air, so you don't have any of that, someone taking a like a 3 earth or 3 air kind of screwing with you late, but you're also putting yourself in position for 2nd on fire and 3rd on water. You're getting good points there. The issue I have with it is I don't see anyone. There's no open cult spots left to place priests on earth or air. So I think the odds with a 3-point lead over both halflings and nomads, I think the odds of losing those are pretty small. So I'd probably be leaning more myself towards the. There's still an 8-point cult boost, so that's now giving you a 4-point cushion, which I think basically locks them up. And now you're losing a worker income, you're losing 6 power and a couple bumps on water and fire, but I don't know if that's worth 6 victory points. That's a tough one. It's close for sure.
I just think because of the extra victory points you're scoring on water and fire, so it probably doesn't change anything on earth or air, but it gives you 6 power, an additional 6 power. And I think obviously Astari took a long time to think about that, but I didn't really understand why he took so long to think about that. I think that was completely mandatory. I don't think that there was any world in which Mike doesn't just dig that and kill his connection next turn. And there's nothing better he can do for his game than spend 5 workers to ensure connection when Halfling's connection is going to be so weak, and Mermaids is probably just not going to be that strong either, given that he needs to spend a ton on chipping this game. Mike did some cool stuff in that round 4 round 4 dwelling. He upgraded shipping and put down tons of dwellings and scored some points, and he has both the favor tiles. I just don't know if there's enough inherent scoring in this game, because he's not getting like a TP round or anything like that. He doesn't have enough coins. Mike's not dead though. I mean, if Mike gets his 2 towns down and gets the right little boosts here and there, he's still going to be hanging around a little bit. I just don't know if he's ever making up the ground on Zorus's point scoring here, and then the Dwarves ceiling. Dwarves have such a big ceiling here, and I couldn't emphasize more that like if Dwarves just have a little bit extra here in order to get the economic benefit of a town, it's just so important. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know some of these decisions here. Like the economic boost of a town in this round is so strong for him. So it's interesting that he is not going to go for it here.
an interesting dynamic to keep in mind here is there's 3-point scoring tiles in the game, and everyone's sitting on one except for halflings. So Zoras is hugely incentivized to take a really, really, really long turn. No matter when he passes, he's going to fall on a point tile as long as someone else passes first. Similarly, every other player wants at least someone to pass before them to open up a point tile. So everyone's going to try to go as slow as possible here, I would assume. What's going to be interesting is when one of the non-halflings players passes. If Zoras jumps onto that tile, he's going to deny at least one of the remaining 2 players from ending up on a point tile, which is what everyone wants going into the last round. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens when that first person passes, very, very sadly. It also means that there's more interest in the priest action, because that if you use power to take a priest here, you're basically extending your turn by 2 moves, assuming you throw that priest somewhere on cults. So if someone's at the point where they can do nothing else except pass, and they think that 2 more moves gets them a point tile, they may do that even though it doesn't help them much on the cult track. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And we see dwarves taking their town here, so we're going to finally see the answer to our question of whether he agrees with the 2 key town. And he goes with the 1 key town. And I think there's a good argument for both. You basically sold me on the 2 key town. I like that idea a lot for sure.
I think the 2 key town was just better overall, and I also think that if he was going to go down this path of taking this TP bonus tile and building all these TPs, then Water 1 was mandatory. I don't like the kind of half. He's made some like half decisions. Do you know what I mean? He said, okay, I'm going to skip Water 1. But then if you're going to skip Water 1, one of the benefits of skipping Water 1 is building your Sanctuary in this round for Air 1, getting you that extra worker on Air. Also, he skipped buying workers here, which I think was really bad as well. I mean, maybe he won't get punished for it, but if I'm Zoras here, I'm probably buying the workers. They're just so valuable. Maybe Zoras doesn't have enough coin flexibility to buy the workers, but I think Astari is burning and going down to four tokens here and taking the workers is just so mandatory. It's so strong for him to do. It lets him put down another dwelling, secure that hex. There's a lot of reasons for him to do it, and now he's just going to be a little bit slow here to do this stuff. I really hope he takes the workers here. I think it's pretty important for him to do so. It lets him stay in the round for longer. It lets him get something else down. And now Nomads is kind of threatening to sandstorm it, to be honest with you. So maybe he has to use his priest as a worker here. It looks like he uses power as a worker here, which seems wrong to me.
Why would he use 3 power for 1 worker when he could have used 4 power for 2 workers? That worker can always turn into a coin later on. That seems like a very odd decision. Especially because that would have helped him extend the round, which we talked about being important right now.
I think the reason he did it is because he was worried Nomads was going to sandstorm right away. But looking at what Nomads' game plan was, I mean, obviously we didn't talk about it quite enough, maybe for the viewers, but Nomads for sure was building that stronghold. Like that was just the way that it was going to work out here. So I just saw this in the comments by Rainier, and like I said earlier in this cast, I think right at the beginning of the cast, Rainier is he is definitely playing the best Terra Mystica of anyone on the planet right now. Like he's the best player in the world. It is very clear from his streams, the way that he's thinking about the game is kind of on this other level right now. He's on a hot run, and he is I think the only master level Terra Mystica player right now on BGA. So what he's saying here, which I didn't really consider, is like was Dwarves hard digging that space for network actually worth it? Was 5 workers going to be worth the connection points that he was going to be able to generate? And it looks like, I don't know, he didn't actually put down an opinion, but oh no, he did put it down. He said no real point for Dwarves to do this. So I just wanted to really just maybe change my opinion there, because I thought it for sure was mandatory. Like I said, it was mandatory, and Astari was tanking on it, and I said I don't know what he was thinking about, or that was mandatory. Looks like Rainier thinks it was bad. So there, just goes to show you
Is
It just
Reindeer
goes
saying
to
it's
show
bad
you.
because he didn't think it was under threat, or because he didn't think that Astari was going to be able to compete on network?
I think it's because he thinks that Astari is only going to get 0 to 6 network points, and what that means is those 5 workers, like dwarves can change 5 workers into way more than 0 to 6 network points, right? And so then in that case, it's just straight up wrong. So I didn't really think that through, and that just goes to show you, like, I consider myself to be like a very strong Terra Mystica player, and I thought that was a completely trivial decision that I'd said, Astari, what are you thinking about? And it just shows the depth of the game, right? Like
Absolutely.
now thinking about it that way, and having that pointed out, like, of course that's a big decision to make. Like, can I score enough points to make up for these 5 workers here? And so, yeah, I mean, for sure, it's just such a deep and wonderful game. I think it's part of the reason why we all gravitate towards it, right?
Sure. I'd just like to point out, Mike grabbed the bridge here, relieving any possible bridge pressure going into the last round, because he needed that to make the town around F2H2, connecting up with E4. I think that's smart, because I think if he leads that to the last round, even though I don't see anyone else necessarily wanting a bridge, if anyone deems him a threat, it's very easy for someone else to just grab the bridge to deny it to him. So I think that was a smart move.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. I think one of the cool things here is one of the interesting things here is Mike is definitely getting that shipping tile, but man, just look at the point difference here with Mike and Ryan. Ryan did get up to 3 shipping this turn, which was pretty cool. He's going to be able to put down a couple more things. I think maybe if Ryan takes priest, can he outlast Mike? Maybe he can.
Yeah, he should be able to, actually.
Yeah, because
Because he can still with 9 resources still. Yeah, he can build after taking the priest. He can definitely build a trading post and a dwelling after. So he'd have 4 moves, including taking the priest. I don't think Mike has 4 moves.
Yeah, it looks like Mike's only got 3 moves, and he's got no way of creating more power over here.
And I think that's worth it. That gives Ryan better economy going into the last round, and gives him basically 8 guaranteed points. I don't think he can do better than going down that path. And denying
Yeah,
it to Mike is big,
it's
especially.
massive.
Oh, that's Mike's not going to be a happy camper if he doesn't get a point toggle into the last round. Now Zoras would be also thrilled with that result if there was only one other person than him that had a pass tile for
Especially
points.
nomads, because I mean, I think especially nomads. The question is, does nomads have the economy here to? Oh man, this is tough to tell. Does nomads have the economy here to build all 3 towns and for all 3 towns to be strong towns? I
It's
don't think so, right?
tight. I don't see it. He has the space carved out. I just don't think he has the resources to pull it off. If he did, he'd have to do it by grabbing like coin towns and stuff. Which is it worth it grabbing 2 coin towns and a worker town compared to an 11-point town and a 9-point town? You're getting similar rewards. So even if it was possible, I'm not sure it would be worth it.
Oh, this is so gross. But I mean, are there ever any worlds where, because Mike is trying to set up for 3 talents here, right? Are there ever any worlds where the 6 coin pass tile is just better for Mike? Probably not, but maybe for nomads. Maybe for nomads, 6 coins is better than 2 coins and the dwelling tile, because
If
he's
six,
generating no coins, right?
if
Like,
6 coins gets him his 3rd town, it's worth it. I'm sure he's doing the math in his head just to come to that decision.
I'm worried about. I think honestly, if we go back to see where Mike's game died, I think it was that water one grab. I think it just died there.
He was snowballing so nicely until that, and that definitely stalled him out.
Yeah. Oh, remember when I mean, as soon as he built it, like we talked about how I hated something from everyone's game except for Zoras's, except for maybe Zoras's starting placements, which I still hate, I think. But maybe it's enough compensation. And oh man, I don't know.
So we did
don't
just
know.
see nomads take the priest power action now to try to outlast mermaids.
Yeah, and he will do
Yeah.
so. He will do so. He can
And
hold.
and the priest is useful for him. It allows him to help lock up first on fire. It gave him the 2 power from that, so he's doing good things with that priest as well.
Yeah, the question
I
now
think
is here: should he build a trading post with 5 workers? And I guess maybe. Or
it's that or dig, but I think the trading post is nice because it doesn't take away from your worker economy. It's just a straight 2 coin, 1 power.
yeah, it's interesting. So Mike here gets the 6 coin tile, which is okay for him, especially because maybe this allows him to. Yeah, maybe he allows this allows him to finish his 3 towns.
So if he's finishing 3 towns, is he can he do that and connect, or is he giving up on connection by finishing his 3 towns?
I think like the ship towns will allow him to do so. I think if he can finish his 3 towns, he should probably prioritize that. Hopefully he can do it with a stronghold. That would be Mongo points for him, right? Oh, I guess he doesn't have the shipping pass tile. It's still lots of points, right? The stronghold's extremely efficient. It's 10 resources for what will end up being 10 points if he does upgrade shipping the whole way. Maybe he doesn't get all the way there. I think from a broad strokes perspective here,
he only needs to get to 4 shipping to connect if he takes H5, which is that black in the southeast. So it's certainly possible. It would mean only 2 ship upgrades, and the stronghold gives him 1.
yeah, I think Mike's fine. I'm really now just starting to key in here on dwarves and halflings. Unfortunately, well, if mermaids can get three good towns, like, do they have enough to come through? I don't know. I mean, fire 2 will come in here. Maybe he does. Maybe he does have enough to do everything he wants to do. But I think there was just maybe too many small inefficiencies in his game to allow for a strong finish here. I also just don't know what the point ceiling on halflings is here, because halflings is going to run out of stuff relatively fast as well, right?
I'm definitely worried for halflings because you'll notice dwarves have already caught up to them. They both have 1 more town coming, but dwarves has a much better score on the cult track, and he's going to have a better network score. So I'm definitely worried for Zoras here.
Do you know what's funny too? I mean, like, and I don't mean to be so critical. I feel like I've been extremely critical of this game of the players. That the players are all world class. I hated what dwarves game plan. I hated what dwarves did in round 1, and then I hated dwarves game plan in round 4 and 5. Like the way that it went about. Like, I think they either should have taken water 1 and built the trading post, or built sanctuary for air 1 in round 5, and then gotten ready for this stronghold and jumping and all this kind of stuff. But there's kind of this like flow to Starry's game that maybe I haven't fully appreciated, because he still scored lots of points. He still did a lot of the things that he needed to do, connected, built 2 towns. Obviously the game plan for dwarves that we all knew, and I think everyone evaluated correctly at the beginning of the game, was that they needed to like really abuse earth and air cults. I think without a doubt he won the auction. I think we said that before. I think he won it by maybe even more than we had thought, especially with this is something that maybe Zoras didn't necessarily foresee because it's dwarves. But one of the reasons that, like, for the history of all of competitive Terra Mystica before BGA, one of the reasons that engineers were so strong is that Darklings always started double east and just fed and fed and fed power to the Grey faction engineers. And this is kind of what happened in this game too, right? Halflings just all they did was just build up around Grey, and fed and fed and fed a star. It's almost like, and again, I don't want to be too rude. I think the chat will probably just laugh and say that I'm mean or something, but I think Astari is going to win this game by a comfortable margin. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like he's going to win by at least a little bit. And I really don't like a lot of what he did. So, I mean, God, maybe dwarves were just in like this most ridiculous spot here. I don't know. And maybe his game plan was just better than mine. right? Just straight up. Maybe his game plan was just way better than mine. And if we went back and played it the other way, it would be a disaster, for X, Y, and Z reasons. But what a fascinating game Terra Mystica is. Like, it's so cool to be here with you, Gordon, and and casting it.
That's what I love about this. I've played so many games of this, and the more you play, the more you realize how deep it is and how much there is to learn. It's wonderful. That's what makes this game so special. We see that Ryan's completed his second town here, and the fact that he took the priest bonus leads me to believe he's gonna give up, I'm guessing, on that third town, because I think he would have needed more resources to complete the third town otherwise. So I think he just went for a high
giving
point
up
down there. I don't see how he completes it now. He needs 3 more. He needs a dig. Oh, actually, he hasn't used the sandstorm yet. So he needs 2 trading posts and 2 dwellings. That's 6 workers, and yeah, he doesn't have the coins for that. It feels like if he'd taken the power town, it feels like he might have been able to make that third town. Anyway, it's done now.
I'm just. Is Mike gonna get his third town here? What is Mike gonna get his third town here?
He just needs a dig.
He's gonna
double dig.
He's gonna use double dig.
He's using double dig. But he's getting it. He's getting it.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I didn't see that he had that available to him. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And no one can take that from him. Yeah.
So he's gonna get double dig and take something that allows him to get 2 more coins, and then get another priest to upgrade and connect. That's a pretty cool game up for Mike. Yeah. I think it's going to be short of enough, but it's a pretty cool game, honestly. Yeah, I was worried about him there, so that's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. Yeah.
We talked at the beginning about nomads having to win network, and it looks like they're going to get up to 13. Do you see dwarves being able to place their last 2 dwellings and catch them? It seems like they're going to be a little short on workers to be able to make that happen.
No, they should be able to do that because they have upgraded dig twice, right?
I'd missed that. Oh yeah, okay, they're fine. They're fine then.
Yeah. So
yeah, okay, they're gonna at least tie for now. Oh, that's gonna be really nice for them then.
Yeah, I think they'll be totally fine. I think it's interesting here. I'm just trying to look here, like, because Istari still is scoring a town. It's getting down to that point in the game where you kind of like look around and see like what's happening here, like what's going on. What is going on? Zoris is in the tank here. What's Zoris in the tank about which town he should take? I guess so.
Yeah, it's got to be, yeah, because he's definitely building that for the town.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting here.
The only thing I can see him thinking about is whether a priest is useful to him. But yeah, I think you just go for the victory point town.
I think that makes the most sense as well.
Yeah, we see him do that. So Zoris is going to pass for, I'm assuming he's building another trading post anyway. So he's going to pass for 8 points on top of what he has now. I don't know if that's going to be enough.
I don't think it's enough. No, I think Astari's got this one.
Mm-hmm.
Does Nomads get his last town here?
I don't see I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think.
He needs trading post and 2 dwellings. He doesn't have the coins for it.
Yeah, I don't think he's got the coins for it as well, which is too bad. I think
close.
Mike here gets his double dig here though, which is pretty cool. Pretty sweet stuff. I think we might have dropped off the stream for a second here. It looks like I can see the Twitch chat saying "rip the stream," so I don't know if
Oh, shoot.
people can hear us or not.
Well, we'll keep talking, assuming they do, I guess.
Yeah, we'll just keep talking as if they can hear us. But yeah, Mike with the double dig here. What does he need here? He needs just some coins, right?
So has he given up on connecting then? He needs
no. He needs some coins here. He'll put his last dwelling down, make another town, and then get a ship town, and then he'll be good, right?
Needs to get up to 5. He needs 3 more. So he needs 3 more shipping still, right? I don't. How does he get to 5?
You're totally right. You're totally right. I thought for some reason that if he had taken E5 there, he would be okay to connect. I was just thinking E5 connects him on 3, but obviously it doesn't. So yeah, it's incorrect. Yeah, no, he can't get both.
So you know what that means now? Zoras is now getting network points.
Yep. Looks like Zoras is getting network points. That is actually pretty substantial.
Yeah, and that's taking away from what we were thinking. Mermaids. Wow.
Is that going to be enough?
I'm not going to do the final calculations. I prefer the suspense. I don't think the viewers want to hear us doing math.
Me too.
But
I hate doing the math.
But yeah, no, it's going to be close between Astari and Zoras.
Yep.
I think Astari has a lot of points coming.
Yeah, I mean he's got some jumps. He's got a town. He's got a lot of stuff going on here. So I don't even really think it's that close. I think what's interesting as well is, Nomads had this like absurd economic start and somehow still didn't normally when Nomads does this kind of Temple 7 dwelling after round 2, they're gonna get down to 15 or 16 network. And so for him to only be at 12 here, I think just shows how bad of a pick that Earth 2 was, right? That Earth 2 is really, really just like cripple them in a lot of ways.
Well, I assumed he'd pick that Earth 2 because he was planning to put up, especially with his with the round bonus, I assumed he was putting up at least 2, maybe even 3 trading posts in round 2, and I assumed that's how he was making up for not having Fire 1. But when he didn't do that, that's when I got pretty worried for what his future was going to look like, because he had a whole ton of workers, but then the rest of the game he was really struggling trying to find the money.
Yeah, of course.
So we see,
and I mean, just makes sense.
We see Astari, I'm assuming, trying to figure out which town he wants. He's in the tank trying to figure that out. We'll see what he comes up with.
Yeah, and I think here there's a couple different options, but I do think either workers or priest is probably best.
Yeah, so he's gone with the workers. I assume he's found a way to score with that, and he'll be taking Air 1 with the Sanctuary as well, I assume.
I think so as well.
And yeah, with him now tied in points with Zoras, no one has more towns coming in. He's going to be ahead of him on network, ahead of him on cults. He's not getting the 8 points on the pass, but I think he makes up for that in cults and network.
Yep. I think there's some honestly, and I don't want to harp on this too much, I think Dwarves did some weird stuff that wasn't particularly good and, got away with a pretty solid win here. And so it leads me to believe, based on just experience and watching these games and all this kind of stuff, that, our assessment of Dwarves kind of winning the bid, and then, we thought Dwarves and Halflings won the bid by quite a bit. And I think that was correct. And I think Dwarves won it by even more than we had thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially with this double E start, right? I think part of what Zorus, maybe failed to kind of take into consideration is that this double East halflings is kind of like this double East darklings, in a lot of ways, and it just jump starts the story through a lot of what was possible.
Now it'd be interesting to see if Dwarves does have this strong of a game if there is no double E start. So we're talking about how well Dwarves won the auction. Part of that is also based on the initial starting positions, which weren't guaranteed during the auction. So we have to keep that in mind too.
Of course, yeah, 100%.
And you're talking about he made some things you strongly disagreed with in a couple of the rounds. I don't think he made any horrible blunders. Like the hard dig in round one, I think was reasonable. I know we disagreed a bit about that. And like Rainer complaining about G3, I mean, that was his network connection. I can't imagine it's that terrible when he's going to end up tying. I think he'll end up tying for the network lead. That's going to really pay off in the long run. I mean, he loses that. That's a lot of points down the drain.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the reality is, though, is that Mike is supposed to connect here, and Mike is supposed to connect. Nomads is supposed to get a lot more connection than he's going to. I think Astari here is just trying to find out how he can most profitably do this, but I think it's right across the top here. If he goes to A10, jumps to A10, and then just digs A9, that's his best play here. Because then he gets adjacency to something, or even better, even just a little bit safer. Is it a little bit safer? He can jump into if you can just throw the hexes up there, production, just for a second.
So he can also consider
H8 there.
H8. Yeah.
Just jumping over to H8 where halflings had dug it once. Yeah.
So the other thing he can consider is jumping and building a dwelling costs 2 workers. He actually has an extra, or sorry, it costs 3 workers. My mistake. So yeah, no, he didn't have any workers to spare. I forgot he didn't have a stronghold up yet. Yeah, this is guaranteed because now no one can mess with his final hex.
His final. Oh wait, no, he's a worker short here. He's a worker short.
No, because he just doesn't jump for the last one, right? He hasn't built the dwelling yet. Oh wow.
Oh yeah. I wonder if there was. He had to jump, right? So, or he either had to jump or had to double dig. That's interesting. And so now Zorus needs to connect through the middle there. Like Zorus just needs to connect there, because if he doesn't connect, like he should. It's 6 points. It's 6 points. It's 2 digging points. It's the dwelling point. It's like it's 10 points. It's a 10-point dwelling for him to connect here. So I wonder if can he delay here, because he doesn't want to give this extra power to Astari, because Astari will get 3 power, which is not enough anyway.
The problem is, if he delays, he opens up the door for Astari to dig that G6 from blue to green, meaning that I don't think he'd have the resources to connect anymore. So I don't think he can risk delaying.
Yeah, he can't. He's got to build it here. Zorus has just enough. It's a 10-point dwelling. Yeah.
If Astari didn't have a worker left, I think he'd have some other options, but I think he has to take it while it's without giving Astari a chance, because Astari's got to know that Zorus at this point. We're not doing it, but when you're playing the game, you're calculating out what other people's final scores are going to be. He knows who his biggest competition is right now. So if he doesn't take that right now, I can't imagine Astari not trying to screw with it, because what else is he doing? And there we go.
Yep. Yeah, and then he has to do this. This is force. So can Astari take this? Halflings can't give him any more. Mermaids can't give him any more, and Nomads is building over at Mermaids is building over, or Nomads is building over in the west. So I don't think he can accept that, even though even just one more leech would get him his final dwelling and win on
It's
network.
so close.
Yeah. I mean, this is like another reason why that 2 key town was better than the 8 key town, right? I mean, he gets a clear point on water, a clear point on fire. That's 2 more points. He had an extra worker, 6 more power. So it's already worth 4 points. So you just have to make up 4 points with 4 points with fire 2, just straight up, and he gets an extra dwelling down, which is 2 of the points, and then just like straight up ties network for another 3 points. So you know, the 2 key town was just like, you know, strictly better, as we suspected.
Yeah, as it turns out, you are completely right. I'd undervalued how valuable that extra worker and 6 power was going to be, and it's what's limiting him from tying the win on network.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yep, and I think Astari is just going to pass it out here. I don't think there's anything else that he can do. Nothing else profitably. It's very sad for Nomads here to just not be able to finish that 3rd town with the economic start that they had. I mean, we were talking about, you know, when he didn't get Earth 1 with the mega economic start that he had gotten, where he could have started with Temple 7 dwellings or 8 dwellings, I think it was, and instead he built the TP and took Earth 2. Obviously, the game was kind of doomed from then, but he had this opportunity, I think, to maybe go to 4 towns and get to 16 network, and you know, to end at 13 network here is pretty rough, you know, when it comes down to it.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, he did still win network, at least. It would have been a bit of a disaster if he hadn't. It would have been a bigger disaster if he hadn't managed to win network. But he is still at least going to win that outright. But it feels like if mermaids and dwarves could have competed a little harder for that had mermaids been able to connect. And
yeah,
if Astari had gone 2 key town, he would have got up to 13 as well.
Yeah, of course. And dwarves had, you know, if dwarves had seen there's a couple of different interesting lines as well, right? That dwarves can take that make him a little bit more efficient with his jumping and all that kind of stuff, and maybe building the sanctuary earlier for Air 1 and getting the economic boost of the town in round 5 means that the stuff that you build in round 5, you get the income for in round 6, right? And so when I was harping on those economic boosts of town round 5, like it's extremely important there. Nomad's not 3 towning here. It's just really tough, you know, all in all. But
as Nomad, when you take an economic favor as your first favor instead of a scoring favor, you're expecting a bigger network and you're expecting 3 towns. That's your compensation for that.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy here? We're counting up the scores here, and I actually think that Nomads is passing Halflings. Is that true?
Wow, and that's huge because that means Ryan as Nomads is guaranteed another shot in another quarterfinal match, as we were talking about at the beginning. Wow, I didn't see that coming. We were harping on Nomads the whole time, and then he comes out and ends up in 2nd place. Wow, that's crazy.
I just didn't see that coming. I honestly thought that. I guess the network was strong enough, man. Honestly,
I totally
so let's talk about the game a little bit here. Like there was some nerves here, right? Some nerves showed. Like, you know, this is my 3rd time casting here on Fire 2 Open, and obviously all the players are, you know, world-class players, but this was definitely the game that I saw that had the most people losing the thread of what was happening in their game. And I'm saying this knowing that I'm playing next week, and maybe I'll lose the thread. And I really don't mean it to be critical, but it's just really important to kind of take a look at kind of how some of these things went down, right? I think Zoris actually played a super solid game. I just think that double East was just strategically incorrect, and that just really hurts him. And I think that Mike with that water 1 and then pushing to 3 towns is just too much of a stretch to make anything work. And then you have all these all of these kind of sacrifices that you're making to try and push through. And then Ryan really he actually ended up playing a pretty decent economic nomads game. And just got really lucky though that a couple of people didn't connect or push network and stuff like that, and didn't end up getting punished for some things that didn't go completely the way that they should have. And then the start, I definitely didn't agree with most of what he was doing, but dwarves here were just super super strong, and he played a solid game plan. He prioritized his worker income, which is important. He had the basics down of playing dwarves properly, and he did the most important macro thing. While I did not agree with most of his micro game plans, like his micro round to round game plans, his macro of understanding that smashing earth and air cult really early was going to be extremely important for dwarves. He did that, and so he got the macro game plan in the exact kind of way that we had expected. He built stuff in the right order that we expected. Again, I didn't agree with a lot of his micro strategy, but the macro game plan was spot on. And I think we're going to get him on here. Awesome. Istari, can you hear us? Hi there,
Hi,
Istari,
yeah.
can you hear us?
Yeah,
Hey.
do you? Okay, fine.
Congratulations.
Well, thank
you.
you.
Awesome stuff. So where are you joining us from, Istari? Istari, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. There was a blunder, but it's fine now. Do you hear me? It's fine. Is it working?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah,
we can hear you loud and clear. I said, where are you joining us from, Istari?
From France, actually. So it's 3 in the night right now. So
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for literally thanks so much for joining us and playing through the night. It's been awesome to watch. I think if you watch the replay here, I'm just going to give you the heads up that I was very critical of some of the decisions that you made throughout the game.
Oh,
And so
really?
yeah, so
like which ones? Okay,
and
I
then
will.
let me know what a punk I am, essentially. I did.
What didn't you like about my plan actually?
I mean, I
Like
think
in which run?
Let's start off in round 1 because first of all, congratulations. This is a world-class table. You won handedly.
Yeah, that was a cool
it was
game.
Awesome to watch. Round 1. How did you? So you took the workers, and what were you considering? Like, what were the different kind of game plans that went through your head?
Well, there was the second temple. Actually, I could go Earth 2, and
Yep.
but then if I was going for this plan, I didn't have any spade in the rest of the games of the rounds, and I thought like this game everybody needed the spades a lot, and there was a lot of pressure for the red mid and the green mid too, like d4, c3, all of this. And then in the round 3, there was the halflings on the east that could take all my x's too. So
yep,
I that was my plan. I needed to go a bit faster than them, so I couldn't go 2 temples in the end.
Yeah, and honestly, I think, did you consider making a jump with that first move instead of the hard deck, or did you just think that hex was so important that you wanted to take it?
I really wanted the d4 because I already lost the g2, and I needed to. In my mind, I needed this, obviously. Like there was no other option. But like, where could I jump? What did you have in mind?
Yeah, I mean, really, honestly, I thought Double Temple was probably the strongest of those three options, but we were considering Air 2 on the cast as well as Earth 2. I honestly thought that a jump was also fine. I just thought that the hard dig was just too economically unviable. But the cool thing about dwarves here were they were going to be such an economic powerhouse because of the earth and air cults giving them so much early, and you like
Yeah.
you prioritize that so strongly, right? Like you made sure to get those two priests there early. You made sure to move up those tracks, and I loved the macro game plan. Like at the very beginning of the cast, when you will watch, you'll see me talking about that macro game plan of dwarves, and I was really glad that you followed it. I criticized a lot of your round to round action, so just a heads up.
All right. I will watch it for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Gordon, do you have any questions for Astari?
I guess first of all, congratulations. That was
Thank you.
really fun to watch. I thought you played a great game. I think that some of the mistakes that Christopher was pointing out, I think, are maybe a little above my pay grade, but I thought that was very well done. You said that you're prioritizing D4 a lot. And I understand it gives you access to the Northwest, and I understand it allows you to make a town in the middle without having to use a bridge. But why do you consider it so important when you can still make a sanctuary town with a bridge across to G3? What's so important about D4 for you?
No, it's actually because I wasn't sure I could get the network in the south with the halflings in the game. So like going north was another option actually to connect.
Giving yourself two options to connect.
Yeah.
Still. Okay.
Like later. Yeah.
And you managed to get. Chris already alluded to this, but you managed to get a priest on the 3 spot of both fire and earth. After prioritizing D4, was that your next main focus?
Yeah, exactly. Because there was so good cult bonuses in this game, like in earth and in air. And for the walkers, like in round 5 too, it was just so good. So I was pretty glad I could bet them, and that worked well.
In the mid game, after the North had been cut off to you, G3 was actually absolutely critical for you to be able to connect. I can't remember the exact rounds. You passed up on prioritizing it a couple times, and then ended up taking it. Like mermaids had made it to H4, and you didn't immediately take G3, but I think you took it one round later. How do you prioritize spending I think it was 5 workers to secure that compared to other priorities?
Well, I was really looking at when Zoras would get like one shipping, if he could compete on this, or I was watching Mike too, if he would go for this dig or not. And yeah, the more it went, actually, I was pretty sure he wouldn't go for this dig. Like he didn't give anything to him, so I could wait like 1 or 2 more turns and then take it. But I had to, like, even for 5 walkers, it was just the price.
Well, it was clearly worth it. You made some major network points off that in the end.
Yeah.
The one other
and it ended with 15 VP on network, which was honestly astounding.
Yeah, I thought nomads would get 1 more dwelling, so because I could put like two more dwellings in the end, but I thought like nomad would get 1 more than me anyway, so I didn't go for it. But I don't know why he didn't get the west town. Like I was pretty sure I was going to get it anyway, so that's why I changed my plan, because I wasn't sure if I would go for the stronghold in the last round, or for the other big building. So I was really like counting what was the best, and I ended with this. But I'm not sure if it's really the best option in the end.
So we had one other very interesting decision of yours. When you ended up taking your east town, you took the single cult bump. Did you consider the 2-key town? Because that would have given you, after you take air 1, that would have given you an extra 6 power, a worker, and an extra bump on the fire and water tracks. Were you thinking about that as a possibility at the time?
No, I didn't. Maybe that was a mistake, but like it was the 5th round, so like in my mind it wasn't it was too late to take it. Like it's not worth it. But maybe it was in this case. Like I didn't have much time to really count everything, so I will watch the replay. Maybe that was the best option. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it started. Thank you so much for joining us. A couple of people in the chat are asking a couple of questions that I'm going to end up, passing on it because production's telling me in the ear here to wrap up the cast because he wants to shut it down. But I'll definitely put you guys in touch and just send a message in the Discord. But thanks so much for joining us today. I know it's the middle of your night, so try and get some sleep. Thanks so much for the awesome game and for joining us.
Well, thanks for the production and for, you too for the commentate and all of this. Like,
well,
it's a really funny tournament, so. What?
Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Good luck.
Okay, no, I finished. But thank you, everybody, for doing this. And thanks, Bizel, too.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thanks, Astari. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.